Today, we are joined by not one, but two guests, Jim Quest and Braden Jacobs. They are IT entrepreneurs and have been leaders for over 25 years in industry, and they've pretty much seen it all in the high-tech space. And today, we're going to talk about what is new in the corporate world for young adults entering the workforce from college, what they can expect, what's different, expectation setting for the workplace, and what skills are needed that you guys are not seeing or that are needed, sort of in response to the changing world.
Digital Dilemmas is a Lenk Media original podcast.
And I would like to just break it open. I'm also looking for a job currently. So I am not freshly out of college, although an honest mistake that people could make given my youthful visage. We took my son, John's stepson, up to orientation at Providence a couple days ago. And I was like, people are obviously going to be confused because I'm not old enough to have someone in college.
Is your sister going at the same time?
Exactly.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
I was like, they're going to think I'm here for my orientation. And John and Andrew were like, no, they're not. Nobody's going to think that.
As we walked into registration, she's like, they're going to ask me my name.
They're going to ask me what my major is and what school I was in. Am I in the School of Business?
That's right, because John's a regular Bill Belichick. That's how it goes. So,
yes. Oh my God, we lost Braden for a second here, but we lost Amber. Where'd you go? Her connection got dropped.
She's already had enough. Braden, this isn't a good sign.
There she is.
What's wrong? She bailed. She bailed on us. I thought she's like, this is bad.
Well, once you compared me to Jordan Henson, that was low. Once you did me dirty like that, I just had to make a statement.
Boy.
Okay, so here we are, and we're ready to talk. And I am thrilled that you guys are here. And as I was saying, I am also not freshly out of college, but I am looking for a job. And I feel like I've been out of the workforce since August, and I feel like things have changed. I feel like things are changing rapidly, that I have seen changes just in the past, 6 months or however long that is, 8 months. So yeah, tell us a little bit about yourself. Jim, why don't you start? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, thanks for having us. We're pretty excited to chat about this. This is actually, one of the topics we cover quite a bit, but we'll get into that. My background, you already, I can't lie now. You already said 25 plus years, but we'll go with that. 25 plus years.
I wanted to be gentle. I didn't know exactly.
Yeah, no.
Decades of experience.
Right around there. Oh, good. So we'll talk about whether experience is a positive thing these days, and I think there's some debate on that. So I've been in high tech, and the majority of the last 3/4 of my career have been in healthcare, specifically with healthcare payers. So both Braden and I have a bunch of experience on the crossover of technology in the healthcare space, and it's a fascinating world that technology-wise probably trails behind every other industry by about a decade, I think we usually say. It makes it super challenging to get things done. And, not the topic of this episode, but there's a lot of drivers as to why that is helping to keep the cost of healthcare up so much in this country. But so my background, entrepreneurial, independent consultant, and now I run a newly formed consulting company. I also have an AI startup that I'm working on that is a bit in the crossover into healthcare and really in personal data management and ownership of data in the AI world. And then Braden and I do a podcast as well. We wanted to try to do something a little different. We're both in the project management space, so we came up with the Project Pundits Unplugged. We wanted to make a podcast that was a little bit lighter, but still got across some points so that it's entertaining to lead. And there's a lot of business podcasts that are
Jim's
pretty
the
dry.
one that wants to get the points across. I just want to joke around.
Right, that's why Braden's on.
He's the color. He's the color
true,
commentator.
and he, don't let him fool you. He has a lot of opinions that are wrong, but he has a lot of opinions. We've been doing that. So we're trying. So it's very interesting. You're looking for work in the consulting world. We work with, I think, both extremes. Well, I say both extremes. People are later in their career and people are just starting their career. Are a lot of people we work with in consulting. So this is a great topic. And yeah, it's the dynamics of the work environment are changing immensely rapidly. And it's been negative for a lot of people. And I do want to chat about that as well, about how people are handling that negativity. There's ways, I think, of handling that Braden and I have talked about, and there's ways of probably not handling it in a very connected world. But yeah, so I'm very, very psyched to be joining you guys and chatting on this topic.
Thanks so much. Braden, you want to jump in and give us a little bit of your background?
Sure, happy to. And as you can see, Jim struggles to even introduce himself in less than about 15 minutes, so I apologize for that.
They have editors. I was told they have editors.
I can give you an actual thumbnail.
We'll fix it in post.
Nick,
Don't worry.
Really good.
There you go. You fix it all in post. So I've worked. So first of all, I've worked with Jim, and I've known Jim now for 20-ish years. We worked for a number of years, again, in healthcare sector together. We did some consulting together afterwards. I would say the majority of my career has been in IT for the majority of it. More recently, more broad management consulting, and a lot of that in the healthcare payer space as well. I would say my corporate experience particularly has been fascinating because it's given me great exposure to, I'll say, a very structured environment where I've got to see everything from interns coming in. And so a lot of good generational experience to see interns and new hires, to development programs, to kind of mid-career, to, some of the later career folks. So it's been interesting generationally, especially from some of those larger corporate experiences. Consulting, I would say I don't get as much of that deep exposure to folks, but definitely within the broader corporate experience, lots of interesting anecdotes and I'd say learnings that I've had, especially watching. There's been some really interesting trends, and especially lately, that I've seen that I'd love to get into and talk through about what people need, what people lack. I think that those are great things to talk through, especially for an audience of folks who say, hey, maybe I'm just joining the workforce, just coming out of college. What do I need to be thinking about? Maybe even what soft skills can I be working on right now in college?
That's so interesting. One thing, as someone who's been in the workforce for a long time and, has sort of seen a lot of young people come up, I used to tell people if I could give people one piece of advice, and this is, like 5 years ago or more, I would say, learn to code. That would be like, back in the day. And I feel like that has changed so much because I feel like, I think it's so interesting that you bring up soft skills, because I think that sort of soft skills and EQ, emotional quotient, are becoming sort of ever more important as AI moves to the forefront and takes over a lot of the make work, if you will. So people are looking to humans for things that only humans can do. Is that something you guys have seen or?
Absolutely. And so one of the ones that I would say, at least in my mind, was one of the first ones that I noticed, and I would say it's only getting more stark, is I remember, and everyone has stories about, hey, the guy sits next to you, the one cube over, and you're still like, sending emails to each other and not just standing up and talking to the guy, right? I mean, we all have stories like that, but I've seen instances where, some of these folks coming in literally are paralyzed with anxiety or just cannot make themselves pick up a phone. I'm not even talking about heaven forbid a face-to-face conversation. Jim's like pointing himself. But I have to say, I
don't talk to my kids. I text with my kids.
There you go. You text your kids, right? But in all honesty, and one of the podcasts that we did a while back, I said, Jim, I have to talk about the walk-up. Right? The walk-up is a lost art. And when I say the walk-up, what I mean is learning how to, when something is becoming a challenge, you've sent back and forth 5 emails or something like that, and the thing's not getting resolved, right? The ancient art was, this is some mystic art. You need to put up some, like graphic now in between with some mystic music, that says the ancient art of. But it's really being able to stand up, go do a face-to-face conversation, and really what you're doing is you're saying, I'm not your enemy. I'm not adversarial. We're here together. I'm going to put myself on your side of the fence, and together we're going to solve this. Because in email, by default, without tone or context, everything is adversarial. You're asking me to do something, we're banging heads. And if I can walk up and say, hey, John, I see, boy, I'm just totally not getting this email. I'm so sorry. How are you doing? First of all, oh, look at this. You've got a lovely wife who looks like Julie from the Love Boat. Tell me more about her and what you guys like to do or whatever, right? And then I've established a little rapport, and now I'm solving. Okay, now I'm no longer adversarial. We're coming on the same side. Now we can solve the problem, whatever it is. But that's a lost art, I think, with generationally, for more than anything else, because so much of their interaction today is digital,
Right.
and they just don't have practice. I mean, practical practice of what do I do when there's not a barrier in between me and the other person's eyeballs.
It's so
And
true.
they're terrified of it.
I it's funny, my best friend Karen, her son just graduated from college and is in the process of looking for a job as a new graduate. And some of the positions that he's applying for are fully remote. Some are hybrid, and he's not sure where he's going to be and all that. But Karen was saying she really doesn't want him to end up in a position right out of college that's fully remote, just because of exactly what you're saying, and
I think that's
100%.
so wild. I would never recommend someone do first job out. Maybe
No, I
mid-career or
could-
something, but totally agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, John.
I have a story of one of my grads it seems like last year, but it was probably 4 years ago. She was one of my better students. She was part of a group of about half a dozen kids that got a job with one of my social media listening vendors in Manhattan. It was right after COVID. And the kids who wanted to move to Manhattan could, and they could go in the office 1 or 2 days a week. If you were from New England or New Jersey or Pennsylvania, you could work from home. All right. So she was living in the Boston area. She takes the job and she works from her parents' house for the first 6 months. I get a call from my contact down in Manhattan going, John, she's just not working out. She's not working out. So then they go, can you call her? So I do this. I'm one of those unique professors that stays engaged with my alumni. I help them with their careers. You know me from, you can
So
imagine.
intervention, you're intervening
So
here to
yeah,
say, what
that's
can
one
we
of my, I
do?
put on my intervention hat and I reach out to her and go, hey, can we talk? And we get on the phone and I go, hey, what's going on? How's the new job? She says she hates it.
Yeah.
Hates it. She's not doing well, blah, blah, blah. So then I go, just out of curiosity, are you still remote or did you move to New York City or, at least Fairfield County, Connecticut and commute in or, what's your situation? I'm fully remote. I go, so then I just gave her feedback like all of you were just saying, going, you know what? I really think you need to get into Manhattan. If you can't move there, I suggest, how about a trip in once a month, stay for 4 days, get to know people, then go back to Boston. Somehow, some way, you got to get the walk-up skills, the
and
face-to-face
Boston's
skills,
not
etc.
cheap. It's not like, well, she's living with her parents, I guess that's
No, but
Yeah.
that's where her parents live.
yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, she does that change. 3 months later, you get a call. She's getting a promotion. I get a call from her. I love my job. The people are great. It's everything that we're talking about here. She needs to get out of the house and get face to face because she's really smart. She's really personable. She solves problems and is a good team player, but no one knew that. And she couldn't discover that by staying home.
One of the things I love that you do, John, in your classes is I've hired, I think, 2 or 3 of John's interns. 2, 3?
2 or 3 of my students over
John's
the years.
students as interns, and then full-time. Then they graduated to full-time employees. When I was at my previous position, and one of the things I love that you do is it's almost like business school. Like they do these group projects where, I'm a big fan of not just one-on-one personal interaction, but like getting a bunch of people in a room. Like I always say, that's where the magic happens a lot of the time because the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. everybody's bringing something different, and it's sort of like
or one of us can be just as stupid as all of us is usually the way I put it. Yeah,
exactly.
Yes,
And also it teaches these kids how to deal with, like, maybe there's a team member who's not pulling his weight or who doesn't show up, or and it really teaches, like, that's something that happens in the real world too, and that these kids are going to have to deal with. And I think that's something that's really valuable that you do in the classroom.
Well, I think, and Jim, I want to get your comment on this. What I try to teach at this phase of the conversation is what I discovered in the classroom that I was sharing with Jim last week is that the kids now look at me and once they trust you, they'll tell you anything. They'll tell you how stupid you are. They'll tell you when you're wrong, all these things. But they looked at me and go, yeah, what's the value of college? Why am I here? What do you bring to the table, John? And through time, it evolved to say, you know what? And I was telling Jim this the other day, you guys can go on AI or Google or YouTube and pretty much learn all the various like technical skills that we used to teach in college or that we used to teach at work when you first started. You can go do that on your own. You're absolutely right. The value add is I want to bring to them the things that we used to do at work every day that we wish someone had taught us before we went to work. All these soft skills. And as soon as I made that switch, the kids loved it. That's what they're craving because they know they're not good at it. They know that they're not good at the walk-up. They know they're not good at doing the presentations in project meetings. They know they're not good at speaking up and having an opinion or speaking truth to power. Like looking at a manager like Braden or Jim and going, I think you're wrong and here's why.
You're an idiot. Yeah, right. And I hear that at least 10 times a day. Sure.
And as soon as I can get them to speak up and they get those skills down, as Amber was saying, magic happens because these kids are smart. They're really smart. And I want to hear what they have to say because they can help us. Jim,
but
are you seeing that?
Yeah, okay. Yeah, Jim, go ahead.
No, see, this is, I just want to say, Braden, all his talk, he consumes our podcast because he has the, I'm kidding. No, I think you're all absolutely right. And I think there are two elements on this topic. One, I think one of the things I've learned over and over and over the years, and I talk about this constantly, is getting work done in a corporate environment. I'd say, God, if I had to put a number to it, maybe 20% of it is skill set. Raw skill set that I know how to code. I know how to do testing. I'm a PMP and I know how to build a project plan, whatever those things are. In the corporate world, and this is a sad fact, and I think things are changing with AI, enforcing some changes, but the majority of it is understanding the underlying dynamics of the environment and people. So there are people, there are leaders at different levels. You go from lower level management, mid management, senior management, executive management, and you have to understand that their goals aren't just aligned to making the most profit or getting XYZ done. Many of them want to, make sure they're looked at in a positive light. They want to make sure they're not blamed for failure. They may have stuff going on at home. They may be in the middle of a divorce, which happens a lot in the corporate world, sadly. They may have a sick child, and this may not be obvious. And Braden and I cover this in some of that conversation you're just talking about. You wouldn't know that until you talk to them. So developing both the skills to go up and talk to people, but also that emotional intelligence to be able to read that something else is going on. Look at their LinkedIn profile. Look, just the broader thing will help you figure out how to navigate and get things done like you need to get done in a corporate world. It's a very hard skill, and this is another topic, but I think that concept of apprenticeship, which used to be all throughout the ages, used to be how you learned.
Yeah.
We have the concept of mentorship, but we've lost some of that. There are programs like tech development programs or executive development programs, which are great. But I think, that's been lost. So having good mentors, good apprenticeship models will help you develop those skills. And I want to do one more thing with this and put some of the impetus on the corporations themselves who are screwing up. Both they go, the whole thing about forcing everybody back to the office full time is a problem. But on the other end of the spectrum, those remote jobs and recognizing, they should recognize the fact that putting people right out of college into a remote position will cause these problems. So they should be, and for the amount of money corporations spend on human resources, which I really dislike human resource organizations generally as a value add, but
this is where you put in like the theme from Darth Vader, kind of marching down the Imperial March.
HR,
right. HR is like the evil empire. Maybe a clip of Toby from The Office or something. Sorry, go ahead.
Just an AI HR manager simply is well enough, and a lawyer. That's enough, and a compliance reporting hotline. You don't need all the rest of this garbage.
Anyone wanting to work for Jim, that's what you're going to get is an AI HR person and a lawyer, just letting you know ahead of time. So
yes, that is, and the amount of applications they'll get will skyrocket. So, but if HR is going to do this, but HR should be doing, and when they're called talent development, that should be somewhere, they should be looking at those implications. I know they do, but it's been amazing the mistakes that have been made by these organizations saying, there's no gray area. Everybody back to work or everybody not. But anyways, I think corporations have to take on some of this ownership. But don't depend on corporations to help you develop your career. And I think this is what we're saying. You got to develop these skills yourself. So I think that's a great point.
One of the places where go ahead, John.
No, that's when I go to teach every semester. I'm always trying to figure out, and Amber knows this. Like, what could I do different this year that I didn't do last year that the kids need? Like, at my age, at my phase of my career, when I go teach at a major university like UConn, it's really all about, what do they need? What year is it? What do they need now? They don't need what I learned in 1980. They don't need what I taught in 2016. It's changing all the time. You'll know right away in the first 2 weeks when you look in their faces. Braden and Jim, Amber's sat in a few classes. You walk in that room, kids are smart. They're digital natives you guys all have kids.
Yep, birth.
You guys know, right? And I've been up in front of a room and quoted some Wall Street deal that just happened. And within 3 seconds, someone will say, Mr. Murphy, that was actually 4.5 billion, not 3.5. I just fact checked you. So they're fact checking you as you speak.
Well,
they're snopesing you live.
I mean, I know there's a lot of talk these days about phones in the classroom and phones in school. And some schools are taking steps.
Well, especially elementary
taking
and high
steps
school.
to take away the phone in elementary and high school. John and I have talked about it on this podcast before. I sort of, he's more of a, take phones out of the classroom at a young age in elementary school and middle school. And I'm more of the, this is what you have to compete with. Make your classroom content more compelling than what's on their phone.
Yeah, especially in college, because I'm preparing them to go work with Braden and Jim. And I emphasize that every week. I am trying to prepare you so that when you go meet Jim and Braden, you can demonstrate to them that you're prepared to go to work in the workplace, and you'll have the inner confidence that you can go work in the workplace. That's what I'm preparing you to do, because all this other stuff that you're talking about, Amber, I can't compete with that. I can't compete with YouTube. I can't compete with AI. I can't compete with Google searching.
Well, I think you do.
No way.
I think you do.
Well, you know what I mean. I mean, they can find it.
Yes, you can't.
When you get a college student who's 20 years old who had a party the night before, and you have a 9 a.m. class. And
no, I've seen them, and they roll in their pajamas.
You've seen my class, and I love
your kids are great.
I love my
you
kids.
Have great kids.
It's 9:05, and instead of 100% attendance, it's like 40%. Then in the next 10 minutes, they all wander in, and they sit down and go, what are we doing today? What am I going to do to grab their attention so that they want to come, they want to show up, and then when they do show up, even if late, and wake up, they get engaged. And before you know it, as you've sat there, you guys would love my classes. I turn it into a circle. We have debates. We have discussion forums. They have to go out and research something, then share it with everybody, and then they have to do critical thinking, learn how to defend their thoughts. And before you know it, they freaking love it, because that's what they want to be in college for.
One of the things that I think you get from that too, John, that I see talking about another one of the deficits. Emotional intelligence, I think, comes from practice, just like anything else. Part of that is the great example I just had this happen was there was a younger guy that was doing a presentation, and he lost the room in about, I don't know, 5 minutes. Being able to read a room and to sense with nonverbal cues what people are thinking, and to be able then adjust what you're doing to that is a critical skill that, absent human interaction and a circle and looking at people and observing human dynamics and emotional dynamics, you're going to miss out. And I'll tell you right now, what happens in that situation when someone doesn't have the emotional intelligence to realize not only is no one paying attention, but the executive who's running the meeting is starting to look at their watch, essentially saying, hey, guess what? Your time's up. I've heard what I want to hear. And you should, realistically, well, you should never have got there in the first place, but realistically, you should say, you know what? I don't want to take the whole day here. Let me just go to the last slide and give you my, bottom line, blah, blah, blah. But not being able to do that boxes you and puts you in a position where now when I'm thinking, hey, who's the bright bulbs out there that I want to promote, that I want to have on my team for this project? It's not that person, right? Emotional intelligence often equates to some of those soft skills or even general intelligence. You say this person isn't reading, isn't following, isn't understanding how they're interacting with other people. Therefore, I'm not interested in promoting, including them in my project, whatever. And all of a sudden you're in a box somewhere and it's tough to move up. It takes time to get past that. So having that emotional intelligence and learning that through those interactions and dynamics that you were just describing in class, critical. I get it that you're also teaching about the subject matter that you're teaching about, but it's, to your point, it's those soft skills as part of that learning that they're developing there.
In all of my classes, we do team project presentations, and they have to learn how to present. And they start their sophomore year, and by the time they're seniors, they're really good at it. But when they're sophomores or early juniors, I do this exercise where they do their early draft presentation early in the semester, where I do they'll be 5 minutes in. I'm like, I'm bored. This sucks.
I love it. I love it.
I'm already asleep. And they'll ask me why. I go, okay, you're going to work for someone like Jim Quest in 2 years. Jim just got off of 4 phone calls with clients around the country. Then he went to 2 meetings. Then he had to meet with his boss. Now he's rushing to your presentation down the hallway. He's walking in. He probably forgot why he's even here, because he's had a lot going on, and it's 1:00 on a Tuesday. And he walks in and sits down, and you're going to show him this?
Love it.
Yeah.
Love it.
They get it. They get it. Like, if you give them the human context, and then you have people like Jim come in or Braden come in and speak, they connect the dots because they don't want to fail. They want to do a good presentation. But I've taught them, okay, get out of the 5th grade South Windsor education where the longest presentation wins, or high school or early college where, you're going to talk for 30 minutes and look really smart. Guess what? Wrong answer. I'm bored. Goodbye. It's like when we watch Jeopardy and Amber, when Ken walks around and goes, so I heard that you were a barista in Boston.
That's a little different.
And Amber's like,
I just have no patience.
But Amber.
Wait, is she just saying, shut up, I just want to hear the questions? Is that
I'm
what she's saying?
I don't care about your dog walking business. I don't care about the time that you tried to climb Mount Everest. I don't care. I don't care. I don't care. Back to the question. Back to the question so I can...
But that's the point, right? But that's the whole. But so I think one of the other things is, and parents have a big role in this too, because John, we talked about this. I don't think schools on the, in the middle and high school level do enough of the critical thinking and the other soft skill development that is necessary, because they're teaching more. That's a whole different topic, but maybe they're teaching to tests and outcomes and things they have to achieve, right?
Yeah, and they're really good test takers.
Yeah, they're very good test takers.
This generation is brilliant at taking tests. Sure. Yes.
But it's about understanding. So one, what are you trying? Always go back to what is it that you want to accomplish? What's the whole goal? I want to get this money approved. I want to get this project with a green light to do this. What do you want to get accomplished? And then understanding the people who are the decision makers, maybe not everybody else, but who are the decision makers, and trying to understand and read what they need in order to get there. And then laser focus in on that. And then what keeps their attention. So if their attention is like, they're going for a promotion and they want to look good, then you mold your message. And it's a soft skill to figure out how to mold what amounts to massive amounts of data into a distilled point of view. And then also the other skill, and I don't know how you teach this, John, in the importance, and it's always been around, but it's gotten a new focus with the social media aspects, being able to tell a story, right? Because people respond through storytelling and emotions. So weaving those things together is kind of a massive skill set. Just, we kind of covered a broad topic here from emotional intelligence to here.
All of us had to, so Jim, John, and I all had to go through the school of a certain manager who will remain nameless, but who really
know who
brought
it is.
Yeah, we do. But to be fair, right? He brought up our game. All of our game. I really feel
I still quote him in class.
You should. The guy, was so fastidious and so meticulous about the approach that he took, but it upped all of our games. It really did, to where today I would say, and I know Jim does exceptional, he really does exceptional presentations. I feel like it's one of my strengths as well. John, I'm sure you too. And all because someone really took the time to, when I say the time, like 2 years, to bang it into our heads, right? But it was, I would say, even as painful as it was, and that's another good lesson to learn here for students as well, is even bad manager, great manager, but even tough managers, I'll say, really can bring your game up, right, and help you learn incredible stuff.
Yeah, Jim, and to your point about the story, Nick is producing this show today, and Nick was one of my first students back in 2016 and 16. If you went and asked 200 of my alumni over the last 10 years, the word learn how to tell a story, that would be one of the top 3 things that I literally say every freaking week. Everything we do here, digital, data, analysis, we do ethics, whatever it is, if you can't tell a story and interpret the information, what are we doing here? What are we doing here? Because Braden and Jim are wicked busy. You got to tell them a story, and it's not going to be a 3-hour movie leading up to the finale. No, they got 15 minutes. Tell the story quick.
Yep. Yeah. No. It's a real. This is I want to drop this because Braden, we don't have to go into this, but just as we're talking about this topic, also when you're going to go into the court and learn that you can control % of yours, and it's going to that 5% of stuff that's in your control. Nail it. Get people's names right. Don't misspell things. Get your color schemes when you're producing something down. Get your fonts all. Those are all in your control, and it shows your professionalism. It's that 5%. You have control over. So
control it.
Control that, because you don't control the rest of it. So, and as you get older, you get more and more control, but nail the things you can control. And I find so many young people are like, who cares? No one cares. And they'll send me a YouTube video about how Jeff Bezos hates presentations.
Jim,
right?
I started that way.
Who cares?
Right. When I first did it, who cares about this? And I really learned that who cares is when they see that really well done, it adds credibility to you, even though it's ridiculously stupid, right? Let's be clear. The fact that you're focused on, do I have a consistent font? Is the title in the same place on every slide? Like stupid things. But to your point, if you can show, I'm going to be really consistent in this, it adds credibility to you, believe it or not. It really does.
Let's I want to switch gears a little bit here.
Yep.
We got to have you guys back in the show because we should have like a regularly every 2 or 3 months session about, because there's so much to freaking talk about, and you guys are hilarious. But let's talk about this everything we've been talking about now. AI comes into the picture. So we could talk about job search. We could talk about on the job when you first start. But AI is now doing a lot of these rote tasks that we used to spend time on, which on the upside gives us time to spend more of our personal time at work. And that, I phrased that wrong. Our human time to tell the story, to communicate better, to have the emotional skill sets that we were talking about, the critical thinking, the personal skills in the office.
One of the things I love that John does is, and John was sort of a very early adopter of AI in the classroom back when most teachers were saying, "Oh, don't use it, it's cheating, it's cheating, it's whatever." John was saying, use it, but the way that you said, he would say, use it, tell me how much time you saved, and tell me what you did with that time, which I love.
Love it. Absolutely love it. That's great. You're forcing, and they can't do that by using AI to then tell them that. I love that. That's brilliant.
No, it's a big, I think, so let's talk about this. I think, so you're right, I was an early adopter, but I was always an early adopter. Social media listening, internet development back in the 90s. I love emerging technologies. And I know there's an upside and a downside. In this podcast, we talk a lot about both. But the only way in the workplace that you're going to be good at using AI and knowing where it's ethical or unethical, knowing where its strengths are, its weaknesses are, is to freaking jump in and use it. And have guidance from the adults in the room. So yeah, they use it, and then they got to figure out, they have to double check the sources. They have to learn how to be better prompters, ask a better question, get a better answer. Use various large language, use ChatGPT, try Gemini, try a bunch of others, see which one gives you more up-to-date data, which one talks better, etc. And then source it. They have to show me their prompts. They have to show me what AI did, just like we used to source our research when we did a research paper. And then I encourage them to do different things. Sometimes ask AI, get the answer, check the source and edit it. Other times, give it your own answer, go to AI and ask, what do you think of the answer? Like, try going different ways to figure out how to use these very important and strong tools so that when you go work for Jim and Braden, you can bring that skill set to the table, and you're pretty good at it for someone who's 22 years old, which I'm betting someone 40 years old in the workplace may not have made the switch to it. And you've got a little bit of an advantage there in the workplace.
No, it is. You have to.
I want to ask Jim, what are you guys seeing in the workplace? AI adoption, skill sets.
So we have to. So part of what I need to do is I need to project out a little bit with this. So AI, if you're not using it, it sounds silly, but and this goes for everybody early, anywhere in your career. One, it's a time saver. I often get asked, how do you start with it? So I think that's a whole separate thing. And I do want to write about that a little bit so people can have easy ways of how to get in there and weave that into their life and just getting used to it as a tool. Like you said. So you have to project a little bit. So if you believe the prognostications, which I do, that white collar work that is repeatable, so something that you could train somebody on and they could do. And I would go even as so far as things that maybe menial tasks that you can do manually with your hands, which is maybe outside of blue collar, but they're going to get automated. And unless we switch out of capitalism, capitalism is going to drive those to be automated. So then it boils down to, what skills do you have in that world? And to me, it's those soft skills. You have to have problem solving, strategic thinking. You have to be adaptable. And so you're going to be the person who's orchestrating those AI agents or those AI tools to achieve the outcome. So you have to step back, learn how to define a problem, which is shockingly lacking in most people. So the first thing I go into most clients as a consultant, I don't care if they're an executive down different layers, is, guys, before we get into this, can we talk about what problem you're actually trying to solve?
Executives are terrible at defining problems.
All of them.
Yeah.
They're like, no,
I want. On the side of the highway, and AAA shows up, and they go, "What's wrong?" And you go, "I don't know. I'm just sitting on the side of the highway." I'm like, "Really?"
I want a better member experience, right? True. So that's a common one, right? I want a better member experience. can we talk about, in your mind, what that actually
means.
means? And by defining that, so that's skill one, and then, figuring out then the tooling, because it will be like, I use AI on almost everything as I like the term co-pilot. I hate that it's been, taken up by Microsoft and
Stolen.
others, but it really is a co-pilot. You need to learn how to use those tools to orchestrate and then cross-orchestrate them to get to the outcomes that are needed. So it's in prompting. Prompting is nothing more than really good definition of the problem and what the types of outcomes are that you want. And maybe it's various outcomes, and you want to compare and contrast. I think all of what you said is spot on. Those are going to be the white collar jobs, and there's management jobs. And one of the things that John and I, we talked about this really briefly, but like this happened in the late 90s. This is a whole different topic, but the whole offshoring thing that happened where corporations took what they thought were commodity roles and just blanket offshored them,
Like
that left a massive gap of people coming out of college and not being able to go into lower roles, kind of learn the role and the job before they got elevated into a management role. I can't tell you the number of kids who came out and got right into management without learning jobs. So all of a sudden they're managing something that they don't have direct experience on.
They've never done it. They're managing things that they never had to do themselves. So they don't understand the problem set. Right.
That's it. Having those problem-solving skills, those communication skills, are absolutely huge to me, and how to use those AI tools to get to those goals. I just use O3 Pro, what just came out. I don't know, John, if you got a chance to do that. I know it's not widely used. This is ChatGPT. It put out stuff that I literally didn't have to tweak. I gave it a good prompt and I could copy and paste it. It didn't look like it was written by AI. It was amazing. So the tools are going to be there. So what are people's roles then in a world where AI has all these capabilities, like you guys talked about? It's those soft skills we talked about.
Are you guys seeing, so let's say you're a 40-year-old, you're in the middle of your career, you're at a healthcare company, some of the vendors, some of the large corporations you've worked with currently or in the past. Do you see a lot of when you walk into an office or you're on the calls, people who are using AI and skilled at it, or are they not using it? What's the average Joe and Jane in the workplace? Are you seeing skill sets yet?
I let Braden go.
Yeah, I'd say in pockets, right? And it depends probably a lot on the corporation and what, what they allow, and B, what they promote or what they encourage, right? In corporations where they're adopting it and where they say, hey, we want you. So I work for a relatively small company, and for us, it's built into everything that we do. So they have regular, in our all hands meetings, they're regularly saying, here's the latest AI updates. Here's the latest tools. Look at this. They'll demo it. It's hand you the tools and make sure that keep us up to date. Right. But that's kind of the culture that my company, it's a relatively small company. At some of the larger ones, I think it's slow adoption. So maybe, insurance is a good example. They're probably 10 years behind. And I imagine in very small pockets, in very small areas, there are, maybe some innovation small groups that say, yeah, hey, we want to do this and we see the potential and blah, blah, blah. Heaven forbid something like, say, medical claims adjudication. What could possibly happen there? You could make leaps and bounds, but the point being that it's pockets, I would say, and as I've talked to people about it, especially people, the 40-somethings is a good example because I'd say they feel the most threatened. It's a new technology. Younger folks tend to be more comfortable, often, not always, but I'm generalizing here. But folks who maybe don't have the time or the interest in understanding this, they're nervous and they say, Braden, what is my job going to be replaced? Right. And the way that I've at least advised them is I'd say,
yes.
I don't think your job is going to be replaced, but I will say younger people, I just say anyone who is using the tools that are available with AI are going to be able to do your job faster and more effectively. So if you want to keep your skills current, learn what tools are available that can help you with whatever job you have. If you're a coder, I don't know. Now I'll say I know very few coders who aren't using prompt engineering to help them with coding. You'd be foolish not to, right? And people have done that for years. I'll go and search Reddit and find someone who's already done this and then steal their code. Any coder does that and has done that for decades. But AI gives you much easier and faster way of doing that search. And even you can take your results, right? Oh, I got an error message. I could drop that error message right into a prompt and say, hey, this is the error message. It does the debugging for me and says, yep, you need to change this line of code. Like, learn for your profession. And it's whether it's coding, project management, analysis. There's so many different tools available. Go find the tools that are available for your profession, learn about them, put a training plan together for yourself, and keep your skills relevant so that you can still do your job on par with the other people that are using those tools. That's kind of the way that I've looked at it and talked to people about it.
Really
I
great
love that.
advice.
Yeah.
Really well said. That's really,
but it's
really good.
it's industry specific, to Braden's point. So
yeah.
So one of the things I'm working on right now with somebody at my consulting company is we have AI offerings right now, and we'll do assessments. We'll help organizations figure out how to navigate if they have a specific problem or just generally want to know how to tap into that. In healthcare, it's very hard, right? So there's so much, as you guys know, in the news, healthcare data breaches are all over the place. So people are paranoid about how do we use these tools without letting any data leak out, right? So they're way on the spectrum of let's not use the tools at all, which is going to cause them to potentially go out of business, some of them, because there's going to be startups and smaller organizations who are built from the ground up with these tools, with the security protections in. So other industries that don't have as much worry about, data breaches and whatnot are leveraging these tools. Like, I'm sure you guys know the whole sales and marketing, content development, content creation. I mean, those freelance jobs are evaporating at a massive rate because the tools are getting so good. You have VO3, like movie making. I mean, you can fight against it as much as you want, but as you know, if there's a technology that's going to do it, the technology is going to win. I mean, you can't artificially stop that from happening. You can slow it down.
Jim and I were talking just recently, by the way, about an example where the AI voices are getting so good, and there was this big strike, big revolt by I think it was video game voice actors who said, if you use AI, we're boycotting, we're striking, and it's just hilarious because the voices, the AI voices are better than the actors sometimes. It's extraordinary. Some of the changes that they've made.
We've had guests on in the entertainment industry 6 months ago, and it's changed dramatically since then. But you're so right, Jim. And Jim, your point of content and audio and video capabilities.
But I think it's just gonna a rising
You're in that
tide
world. Talk.
Raises all boats.
Yes.
Like I think that I worked in the video production side of things for a long time, and people resisted when it was, when the move to digital editing from reel to reel. Like that's how old I am. And
I thought you were going to college. You're only 22.
I know. It's an honest mistake. A lot of people are making it.
You must have been editing, and you were a genius.
Yeah.
5 years old.
And
people resisted it, but it really just made it possible to do more cool things.
It is true. That is absolutely true. There's going to be this,
it's a curve.
And again, this gets in. There are people who are experts studying this.
Yeah.
It flows. New things get created that we can't even think of because it's going to give tools. But that gets to the skills that you should be developing. And the other one that's kind of, to me, is essentially an amalgamation of those things we talked about is entrepreneurship. So how do you look at something and envision it differently? How do you become an idea person now? And then you can use these tools to actually see that through. I've always been an idea person, but Braden as well. We've had to go and cobble together expensive things to try to do something. Now you have an idea, you can flesh it out, and there's automation to get there. So to your point, Amber, there's a whole bunch of new things that are come that we can't anticipate. But those soft skills that you develop, that idea, that brainstorming on top of the problem solving, the understanding people in a storytelling, that's the universal skill, in my opinion, that'll get you in people relations, that will keep you employed or independently generating money, because I think it's going to be more of a world of entrepreneurs throughout there. So those are the core things. Like surviving in a corporate world, we can talk about a whole bunch of other things, but I think that's going to be, develop those raw skills and you'll always be safe, is my opinion.
Yeah, it's been that way forever, and I think it's true even in this new age of AI. Jim and Braden, those are great points. I completely agree with that.
And we have, I think, taken up enough of your time.
Yeah, we're about
We're
the
about
1
the
hour
1 hour
mark.
mark.
Really
like I
see
said
it, time
earlier,
flies.
I know, and as I said earlier, we're going to have you guys back
Yeah.
on if you choose to join us. And I know you're invited and asked.
And we're
to
also
show
available for
up
your
on the
podcast.
show.
I know you didn't ask, but I'm just letting you know.
Oh, we'd love to have you guys on. Absolutely.
We are working on, so you guys have done this. So it's no easy feat, even with software, to do this. So, pulling this together. So we haven't done guests, and we'd love to have you guys on to chat about that, about a bunch of different things. So yeah, we're just got to get over our next technical hump on that. That's right.
Thank you so much for
Braden, what were you going to say?
Well, no, I was going to say, and the difference only being that you guys at least keep it within an hour, and Jim will do 2.5 without breaking a sweat. So
people love it.
Amber, believe me, we're 30 minutes longer than Amber likes to go.
Taskmaster.
So she's like I'll be in the middle of I think I'm going to go down this really great
and I'm like,
road
and
with this
in
guest.
conclusion.
Amber, you have my role in the Jim and Braden podcast, where I'm like, okay, Jim, did you want to wrap that up then? Or,
Braden's like,
Well, she's always telling me we don't need to tell people how smart you are. And the very first episode we did, I had never seen myself on camera, and Amber's been on camera for like 20 years, so she's used to it. So the camera goes on, we're doing a YouTube thing, and obviously Nick edited it out, but she goes, John, you might want to smile occasionally. You look like you want to kill somebody.
You look angry.
You got to leave that stuff in.
We might have
That's
left that
gold
in.
right there.
Oh, I know. It's true. Maybe
I don't know.
maybe
Who
Nick
knows?
did leave it in.
Back in our nascent days.
That's so true.
Well, thank you so much for
All right,
joining
guys.
us. This was really
It's been
fun.
awesome catching up. I can't wait
So
to
nice to meet you.
Amber, can you do the wrap up?
Yes,
email us
absolutely.
thing?
As always, thank you for joining us. And if you have any suggestions for topics you would like us to cover, or guests you would like us to have on, or if you think you would be a good guest, feel free to suggest yourself. Email us at digitaldilemmas@lenk.media, and we will take your suggestions into account moving forward. Thank you so much, guys.
All right, Digital Dilemma fans, that wraps up another episode. Thanks for tuning in and navigating our tech world with us.
Please rate us and leave a review. And if you enjoyed it, tune in next time. We'd also love it if you would send us any questions or suggest guests via email. Thanks so much for listening, and we will see you next week.
Digital Dilemmas is a Lenk Media original podcast.